Welcome back to the Infinite and Beyond show. Of course, I'm your trusted host, Rob Kalwarowsky, and I'm here with another special guest, Celeste Fa'ai'uaso, a fellow Course 2 graduate and leadership coach and the host of Manifest with Celeste. Celeste, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's great to have you, and I got to give a shout out. I came across you obviously through our mutual friend, Jason Scott, a former guest on the show. So folks out there, Jason, thank you for making a connection that I don't think you even knew about.
But no, not at all. I love that.
But thank you so much. And for folks who are listening, if you haven't listened to Jason's episode, go back in the archives and find it. Now, Celeste, for folks who are out there who are getting to know you, can you share us your story from when you graduated MIT to today?
Yeah, sure thing. Well, first off, I've done a lot of different careers. So when you hear my story, you'll be like, wow, okay, you've done a lot of things. Did you know what you were doing? And before jumping in, I would say I always had like a hypothesis and then pursued that. And, it's okay. Hypothesis can change. That's part of having the scientific method. So I would say first out of college, I was just like, I just needed a job. It was hard for me to find work and just took the job that I got, which was doing process engineering at a titanium manufacturing company. And I didn't love that job. The people were nice. I learned a lot, but as soon as I was there, I was just trying to figure out the next role and had a lot of time to do some self-reflecting, realized I wanted to have some positive impact on the world and use my analytical skills, which when I was talking to my friend at the time, they're like, does that even exist? Like, I feel like you're thinking about something that's like a pipe dream. And then a few weeks later, I got a newsletter that said they were hiring for this social impact consulting firm. So they were doing strategy consulting for foundations, nonprofits, corporations. And I felt lucky enough that I got that role. Was there for 3 years. It's called FSG. I was there in Seattle and really enjoyed my time there. But I felt like I wasn't having the impact that I wanted. Like I felt like I was thinking strategically, putting these great recommendations. But at the end of the day, it was just my clients had to make a decision on, are they going to implement that, or is it just going to sit on the shelf, or maybe there's a leadership change, so they're actually not going to implement it. So I just felt like I was working really hard, trying to see impact, but not really seeing it go across the finish line. But at that time, I knew I wanted to go to business school. So I had already been starting to study for the GMAT and going through that process. I was also in a long-term relationship, or long distance. No, it is a long-term relationship, but a long-distance relationship with my now husband. So he was in New York, I was in Seattle. He also went to MIT, and then I moved there to be with him, just to work at Amex, to like have a job as like a not too stressful job, but have some experience while I'm actually applying to business school. And it was always my plan to like go to business school a year after that. So I got into UC Berkeley, was able to get a full ride there, which was awesome because business school is expensive. And yeah, super grateful. And that also gives me a lot of freedom in my career decisions going forward. But I went into business school thinking I wanted to work in big tech, really wanted to work at Google. Had an awesome time in business school, loved Berkeley. It was transformative, loved the people. And then got an internship at Google. And then I converted full-time working at Google as a program manager. And that was my dream job at the time, where I was like, ooh, I love Google. I have so many Google products. Like, it's not even feeling like a job. Like, I truly love these products and believe in these products. So let me work at this company. But I started working there during the pandemic, which was hard, as I'm sure everybody knows, working from home during the pandemic. But it really helped me to like realize, like, slow down. Like, is this really what I want? Like, is life just about working? And I didn't really come to a clear conclusion then, but it started to plant the seed for coaching. And then I think while being at Google, while I enjoyed my time, loved my boss, I felt like there was a ceiling of my happiness, where I felt like I had checked all the boxes of like a prestigious company, really good pay, love the people I work with, getting rewarded, but it felt like there was something missing, which was like a purpose. And what really started me to like open my mind were two things. One was, unfortunately, my cousin passed away unexpectedly, and that really just made me realize that life is short, and what do I want to do with my time on earth? Because she was just a few years older than me. So recognizing that even though I'm young, something tragic could happen. And then the second piece was Google had layoffs out of nowhere. Like, it was kind of shocking, even though other companies were having layoffs at the time and still are. Managers and like leaders at Google were saying like, oh, we're definitely not going to like have layoffs. We're going to do our best to like avoid that. And then all of a sudden one night they had layoffs that nobody expected. I fortunately still had my job, but it just made me realize that like my secure job wasn't that secure anymore, and started to make me really wonder the tough question of like, what do I really want to do? What am I passionate about? And I had a friend that was graduated from UC Berkeley Haas, and she went into coaching right after her MBA, and saw her just like living her life and doing an amazing job, and seeing like, okay, this person has a similar background. Why couldn't that be me? And did a workshop that another friend had hosted to really like give myself permission to dream and visualize what do I want in life. And that's when I realized I do want to do coaching. Like, I've always had a passion for helping people, to from mentoring in college and afterwards, and helping people really get clarity on what do they want or what are their goals and aspirations. And so from that moment, that's when I decided I wanted to pursue coaching, and been doing over that. I've been doing coaching over the last few years, and doing trainings and doing workshops, and it's really brought me a sense of fulfillment of just seeing people believe in themselves, give themselves permission to dream big and pursue those dreams.
What you said about giving yourself permission to dream big, that is often the hardest part of coaching. How do you go out and tackle that question with folks?
I think creating a comfortable space. I think we all have inner critics in ourselves where it's telling us like, who are you to dream big? That's not realistic. Like, that's not for you. But I think if you create a space where people can feel comfortable and put down those barriers to like really sink in with their body and their intuition, that those things can start to blossom. And I found that it's been really helpful doing visualization exercises and helping people just decompress, like do some breathing exercises, close their eyes, and kind of allow those like shoulds or shouldn'ts to melt away, and just really be in tune with like their heart, their spirit of what they really want, which I know sounds like woo woo, but I feel like so often we can't really tap into those things because of those like negative thoughts or that inner critic telling you like, no, that's not possible. But I think once you start to give yourself that permission, things will come up for you. And then I think also having role models. I think having people like, for me, like my friend who did coaching helped to make it more realistic of like, oh, here's a person with the same background that's able to make it happen. And I feel like if you surround yourself, whether that be people you know or through like podcasts or YouTube videos, of seeing people that are actually able to pursue the thing that you want, so that you have that courage.
Celeste, especially now with the job market as it is, where do you start with guiding folks who are looking to find their next position?
Yeah, I think, well, I know it can be depressing with the job market, and I have a lot of clients and friends that are looking for jobs, so I know that it can be a very grueling process. And I think that's why it's really important for you to understand your why, because it is going to be really hard, and you may feel like giving up, or you may feel like it's pointless, or that you'll just be in a situation that you're not happy with and think that's the only thing that's possible. But I think getting strong clarity on your why, so that it helps you to prepare for those interviews and helps you to like put in the hard work or to overcome setbacks, because I don't think it's going to be easy. I mean, I hope it is easy for people and they can just get through all the interviews and get the job. But unfortunately, I know that's not always the case, and there will be some rejection. But having that why to help you push through those challenges, and then two, like having that self-talk or that narrative in your head to help you to have compassion for yourself when you do have those rejections or those challenges, because it's easy for you during an interview, it doesn't work out, to like beat yourself up, but that's not going to help you get to the next interview, or that's not going to help you in the next situation that happens. Like, you need to be your own cheerleader and hype yourself up, because if you don't feel confident about yourself or you feel good about yourself in that interview, like, it's going to come off that way and you're not going to be your best self and you're just going to get in your own way.
100%. It's something that I talk a lot about is 95% of the decisions we make are governed by our subconscious. And so there's a lot of what we've learned over our life that are affecting how we show up, the decisions we make, whether we ask for what we want or not. And so often, like, I work with mindset with 90% plus of my clients, because it's one of the fundamental things to get them to do the other behaviors that lead to the results. And so I 100% agree with you on that. Now, Celeste, Can you tell us a little bit about your show, Manifest with Celeste? Like, what have you learned hosting your show?
Yeah, for sure. And one other thing I wanted to add that popped in my head to your question before is also just putting yourself out there, because it's a lot of relationship based. I mean, it's a very competitive market, and it does matter about who you know, and just putting yourself out there, of asking your friends, family, your classmates, or even just going to events and meeting people and telling people what you're interested in if you feel like you don't have that network. But that is extremely important, and I know it's not fair because not everybody has connections at these companies, but the more that you can put yourself out there, the better. So I just wanted to share that, but I can talk about my podcast. Yeah,
Absolutely.
my podcast. Yeah, Manifest with Celeste. One, I love rhyming with my name. I feel like it's easy to rhyme things and it was catchy. But the podcast is really focused on helping people to dream big. So like what I was saying before, people may feel insecure or doubt themselves in their ability to make their dreams come true. But I'm a strong believer, again, with like the people you surround yourself with or the content that you're taking in can really influence what you said, your subconscious. So I created this podcast to inspire people to dream big by interviewing my friends or my network where I feel like they're doing really cool things. And some of it is like professional, like Daryl Fairweather, my good friend, and I know she was on this podcast. Like, she's a chief economist. That's boss, and that's like something that people could be like, oh, it's like climbing up the corporate ladder, which is amazing. But I'm also interviewing friends who are musicians, or friends that they just started their own bag company. So it's not necessarily like the most traditional path. Like, some of it is, some of it isn't, but dreams can come in whatever shape, form, or size that you want. And so wanted to give people that variety of different dreams, and how do people pursue them, what's their mindset, what advice do they have, so that people can feel like they're talking to their own friends. Because I feel very grateful for like the friends and the network that I have, that I get to hear these stories. And even by having these interviews, I'm having deep conversations that I haven't had with them. So it's like understanding the thought process in their brain, their mindset, and also hearing the challenges that they've had. Because I feel like outside looking in, everybody's posting the positive things on LinkedIn or on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, but we all have challenges. And what I've learned through coaching and doing these interviews is that no matter how successful somebody seems, that we all have doubts, insecurities, challenges, people not believing in us or being in a bad situation, but we're able to overcome. And I think that's very inspiring, and that's very humanizing to know that even people that you admire struggle, and not to forget that. So when you're struggling, that you don't have to feel like, oh, it's only me, this is hopeless, that it's just part of like a journey, a hero's journey. There's always a challenge in your life, and it's just how do you respond to that?
Yeah, I love that. And it's something, as a coach, you work with folks often when they're in their challenge. Like, rarely do people come to me when everything's going smooth. And so you start to realize that, like, the world's hard. Like, whether you're working in a company and trying to succeed, whether you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to raise money and grow your business, whether, you're just trying to raise your kids right. Like, it's a hard world. And we all go through something. And, a friend of mine, Eric Kusin, he talks about mental health as it's not this statistic of 20% of people suffer from mental illness every year. It's we're all on the spectrum from 1 to 100. Like, yeah, some days you have great days, other days you have bad days. And so I like to think about that as like I go through and coach and work with folks, and also in my own life is we're all on this journey and we have our ups and downs, and it's really just keep on trucking.
Exactly. And I feel like I've fallen into the trap of like, oh, it's always needs to be happy, I always need to be positive. But I think just accepting the fact that life will have lows and everybody has lows, and figuring out how to navigate and take care of yourself during that, instead of just, wishing it never happens and feeling deep frustration when it does happen, which is totally normal. I'm not saying like don't feel frustration, but to find some acceptance that this is going to happen and to enjoy the good times, and then also recognize like it will pass the bad times, but you know, fill up your cup where you can so you can persevere through that time.
Now, Celeste, before we transition a little bit into the MIT community, I'd love to ask you, AI is bringing us and keeping us more in our house, in our isolation. What do you see out there? Like, do you feel like folks are moving back to find more events and more community, or are folks really isolating themselves from the world?
Well, I don't have the data. I feel like from being like a MIT graduate, I'm like, what is the data, and what are the surveys, and what are the sources? So I don't have that. So this is just speaking on like intuition. But I think there is a lot of reliance on AI in terms of having that person to bounce ideas off or to hear from you. So I feel like I talk to friends or even people I coach, like, oh, I just asked AI and this is what it said. And I think there is a use case for that, or maybe it's a good like starter point, but I think it robs you from having the conversation with your friend to, one, like check in with you, understand how you're doing, to like show up as a supportive friend. So it's not just about you getting the support, but that you mutually can support each other, and that it's like their time that they can show up for you and be that person in your life in that moment. And I think like having all the context, like we talk about with like AI, like context is important, but your friends and your family or your network really has the context of who you are as a person, and also the world around you, or like your values. I also think like with AI that there's like a bias towards affirming your beliefs. Like when you're in a situation, I think a lot of times we have a self-negative belief when we see things in like a worst case scenario, or you're thinking like you're cherry picking the data, versus, if somebody else was in that room in the meeting, they could have a more objective feeling, or at least a different perspective. And if you talk to more people in that room, then you can get more data points who are in the actual room, versus you telling AI the story of like what happened, that you have these other sources that can confirm or reject your thought process, or find something more saying a lot of different things. But I feel like that's a specific use case where people can wonder how they're performing in a situation and rely on AI to guide them, which, maybe it could help give you some best practices, but I wouldn't have that as your sole source for advising you or helping you understand the situation itself. And that's why it's good to have friends, peers, mentors who are seeing you in action and can give you that direct feedback.
But doesn't it feel nice to be right all the time?
It does. And also it feels nice to send something and not worry about judgment, that you can just say all the things unfiltered and not worry about like, ooh, like, are they going to see me differently? Like I said that I feel insecure in meetings, and I told my boss and other people, and now they know about that, and now they're going to see me in a certain light. Like, yes, like there are those cons that you can feel. So I think there does require like discretion, but it is nice to be right and hear what you want.
So, Celeste, the purpose of this show is really to bring the MIT community together and help us achieve our goals. And so, what are you working on? What's your biggest goal, and how can the community support you?
Yeah, well, I'd say my biggest goal is helping people to dream big. I think that's identifying what their purpose is, helping them to build confidence and conviction to pursue those dreams. And I think that's important because so much of our world today is somebody's dream, like things that we think about and take for granted, where it's like, oh, we have Amazon Prime. You could just get things in 2 days. Like that was Jeff Bezos' dream and really impacts how we live our lives. Like, is that good or bad? I mean, there's lots of consequences of that dream. But I just feel like there's so many dreams out there, like AI, a dream. We're here in it faster than I think we thought we were going to be in it. But again, that was somebody's dream. And so I feel like there's a lot of problems or like concerns in the world. But I think right now, more than ever, that we do need to dream and have hope to see the change that we want. And I think it's easy to feel depressed and down on how the world is. Like I feel it certainly at times, but I think that's even more important for us to like invest in our dreams, protect our dreams, because we need to re-envision how things are, or like provide services, products, or events, whatever your dream is. I think that it can have a positive impact on the world, and that's just what I think is important, and that's the work that I'm doing through coaching or speaking engagements or workshops or through my podcast. So I'd say that's the underpin through it all, and just having different vehicles to pursue that dream. So, one, if somebody feels like this resonates with them, they're like, wow, I do really want to dream big, but I feel like I'm getting in my own way. Like maybe I you. Two, if you're like, oh, that sounds amazing, I feel like more people should hear that message. I could do a workshop to help people discover their dreams, or could do a speaking engagement, or you could just share my podcast if you want to inspire other people you think it would resonate with them. But that's really where my mind is going. So whichever way I can do that, I'm excited to.
Absolutely. And for folks, we've dropped Celeste, her website, celestemanifest.com, in the website, in our podcast notes, as well as her LinkedIn and her YouTube. Now, Celeste, what advice would you give out to our fellow alumni to succeed in 2026 and beyond?
Yes, I would say I have 3 thoughts there. One, focus on building skills. I think sometimes, going to MIT or, having other awards that you focus on the name, either it's the company or the position, but really making sure that the skills are the ones that you want to build and you think that are valuable. And this goes on to the second one of being adaptable. So I think we're very much in a world where layoffs are frequent. You can feel like, maybe your job's on the line all the time, or it's uncertainty, and really nobody knows where we're going. I think there's a lot of predictions, but at the end of the day, nobody knows where we're going. And I think what you need to do is be adaptable, detach yourself from fixating on something. I know it's easier said than done, but the more that you can just see this as an opportunity, whatever comes your way, and the fact that you're focused on building your skills, that you can meet that opportunity and continue to grow your career, rather than being like, oh, I just need this job to not let me go and I'm gonna cling on to it for dear life. That maybe you could have used that, you could have a less stressful life if you let go of that, and also you could focus on building skills so you have that confidence of, well, it's okay if I lose this job, I've built a lot of skills that can position me really well for the next job. And the third piece I would say is experiment with your passions. So I feel like it probably will resonate with a lot of people of having a hypothesis and experimenting. And I feel like a lot of times people downplay their interests or think that they just have to put that away in a box and suck it up and be an adult. But I have seen several people in my life who have pursued their passions and have found an intersection between their passions and careers. And that's not saying that everybody needs to have that intersection. Maybe your passion really is a hobby that gives you energy to do your job. But make sure that you give yourself space for that passion, whether it be for your job, side hustle, or just for your energy. So I would recommend people to experiment with what brings them joy and with their passion, and figuring out how to make more space or being intentional with having that in their life.
I love it. Yeah, absolutely love that. Block time for your passion, make that happen. And of course, as the author of Capitalizing on Chaos, I have to ask you this question. With all the chaos in the world, how do we capitalize on it?
I mean, I think in my head is just nobody knows where the world is going. And so I feel like that's a time for you to experiment. I mean, the fact that maybe you don't feel like your job is secure allows you to create some side hustles or your own business or pursue your hobby. And I feel like with the chaos with like AI, I think everybody thinks this, so this is probably not a novel thought, but it's like it's easier now than ever for you to build something, or test something or get information. And so really you have the information at your hands to test, pursue the thing that you're interested in. Like if you're a person that's always been interested in creating video content or making movies, like you can do that with all the different tools, and you can do that with AI to at least like pitch and pilot, and then have people, real actors, be in your show. But you don't have to feel like I need to like find actors, I need to like build a script or a writer. Like there's a lot of things you can do yourself to get the ball moving, and then once it starts picking up traction, you can bring other people along. Because I'm not advocating for like AI actors or AI musicians, but I am advocating for you to get an MVP out there using AI, and there being less barriers to entry now. So I feel like you can take any idea and at least test it, put it out there, see if you liked it or see that you don't, and now you have something else to experiment with. So I feel like it's a great time to experiment, test ideas, see how they work, and update your hypothesis.
Amazing. I love that advice. One of my clients actually just made an AI song about dogs last week as part of his passion project. So you can definitely make pretty cool art now these days, and some pretty cool stuff. So get out there, have fun, enjoy. For folks out there, you can find Celeste, celestemanifest.com, and I've dropped her LinkedIn in the podcast notes as well. Is there anywhere else you want folks to find you?
I feel like my name is unique, Celeste Fa'ai'uaso, so you could find me on TikTok or on Instagram, but definitely LinkedIn. Definitely check out my podcast. It's on Spotify and also Apple Music, Manifest with Celeste.
Amazing. Everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. Celeste, thank you for joining us and sharing your experience and expertise with us. And everyone else, we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rob, for having me on the show.